This is a class, I think, I'm not even quite sure of the title, Relationships, Mystery of Marriage.
We don't hear you here.
You don't hear me?
No.
My goodness, I thought I had, I'm starting now. Good, and thank you for anything that needs to be clarified, please clarify. I think the name of the course is Relationships, Mystery of Marriage. Is that right? Did I know what
Yes.
Right, okay. I'll tell you a story about not knowing what the class is about another time. Okay, so the essence of the mystery of marriage is, or the essence of our being Am Yisrael together with Hashem, because the initial relationship is first the neshama of each one. You don't hear still? You don't hear me?
A little, I mean, I
You
hear
usually sit next to me when we have other classes for like 30 years already, but so you're having to. Okay, okay.
There's another solution. Do you guys need the air conditioning?
No, I'll
No,
speak up.
it's
It's a small.
It's freezing.
I'm
We can turn it
freezing.
off.
We can turn it off and then we'll be quieter.
Let me see. Okay, let me see if as I begin, my voice will become more clear. Okay, every soul that comes down is in relationship with Hashem. Every soul of Am Yisrael is in a constant relationship with Hashem. That's the essence of everything that we've been learning in the Torah. The whole book of Shir HaShirim is talking only about that. It's talking about that relationship. All of the prophets in all of their prophecies of comforting Am Yisrael and of rebuking Am Yisrael, it's all in the intimate relationship. So the Torah itself, the Nevi'im, the Ketuvim, Shir HaShirim, most especially Pnimiyut HaTorah, Kabbalah and Hasidut, is always talking about the relationship of the individual soul and of the collective soul of Am Yisrael, Knesset Yisrael with Hashem. Like that's what it's all about. That's what we're learning about. That's what we're living. So in our study together, Bezrat Hashem, what we're really going to be doing is finding that relationship. But how do we find the depths and the intimacy of that relationship with Hashem? It's through finding and rectifying our relationships with the other. Because when Hashem creates the world, when Hashem created the world, that's what He did. He, as so to say, and this is all using words for concepts that really can't be put into words at all, He came out of His inner self in a complete oneness and completeness, out of Himself to the other, to create something outside Himself, the creation of the world. So in our relating to anything outside ourselves, anyone outside ourselves, to Hashem, but through the other Yehudi. That is how we rectify at the same time. And you start from whatever place you're holding. And each one complements the other. I'll make that more clear. If we're talking about learning about a relationship and deepening the relationship with Hashem, then any work that we would do on rectifying relationships with the other will deepen the relationship with Hashem. And then the other side is true as well. Each one, and so where do you start? You start at both of them, wherever you're holding at that moment, at that day. And any given day even, before we talk about the marriage itself, we're always in relationship. I mean, just getting on the bus and waiting a long time to get here, just in any small, prosaic moment, we are in relationship with the other. We are relating outside ourselves to the other. If we can keep in our minds that the other is chelek eloka mimal mamash, a divine spark of Hashem, then that relationship takes on that essence to it. So when I'm relating to the other, to the divine spark in the other, even though I don't always see it, and that sometimes relationships can be just simple crossing someone's path. Sometimes they can be very intense. But if I can hold on to the divine spark of that other, am I okay? Are you hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. The divine spark in the other, then I'm relating to Hashem and to the individual, and each relationship is deepened at the same time. So it's for simple relationships, it's for intense relationships, just breathing and saying, I believe in Hashem that He created this soul, and the spark, His divine spark is in this soul. Just taking a breath, just breathing bichlal, that we're going to talk about quite a bit in our learning. Just the breath itself can connect you back to the first breath that Hashem breathes in. Like the first breath of life that Hashem breathed into Adam, like the first breath that's breathed into a baby that comes out into the world with that breath and a cry at the same time, the first breath of the morning, Modeh Ani, That first breath can be attained at any given moment by choice, by just focusing inside and trying to clear yourself, or not even being able to do that, just by breathing, just by taking a deep breath and remembering that that breath is coming at this moment from Hashem himself. That already can bring you in connection with Hashem and allow you to see the divine spark of Hashem in the other individual. Okay, so that's like Hakdama.
You're saying to actually physically take that breath.
Physically, really physically. And we're going to talk about and really work. This is supposed to be a class, but also workshop and working things out together. We're actually going to do a lot of this breathing, just the breath itself. When you breathe, you don't lose it. You don't get angry. For the moment that you're breathing, you can't yell. you can't yell at someone when you're taking a deep breath. Just that.
Is there a meaning?
Just a deep breath, and the breathing, the breath itself allows oxygen to go into your brain. So instead of getting mivulbal, you're getting emotional and confused and angry, the extra oxygen that you've allowed to come into your brain will allow you to think clearly, which is what we really need to do all the time and which we're being challenged with. It also allows you to, the oxygen then comes into the rest of your body, and then if you need to make decisions, do things, then you're able to do it and not get your hands and your feet all over the place. So just the physical breath itself, a split second, just going back to the Modani, and it's just the Modani of the morning, and that is meant to be, if one could, and we could do this as an ongoing kind of, you say like every week, check up on it and see if we're doing it, just to work on the first breath of Modani. Just that first breath, to be more aware of how the body is like, we know that the sleep is like a 1/60th of the opposite of life, so that we can actually feel, with that first breath, the neshama coming into the body. Take a long, and make that breath conscious, longer than you would just jump out. It'll give you much more energy to start your beautiful day if you've taken a deep breath of Modani. Modani for that breath of life. And if you're able to do it just once that day, once in the morning, at night, if you can let that last breath before sleep be a one of consciously giving over the neshama to Hashem, then all of those hours of blessed sleep become a connection to Hashem. Just by the first breath of the day and the breath before you go to sleep, of thanking Hashem for the breaths of the whole day, and then giving your neshima in the Hebrew. I brought my things so they usually don't have them here. Neshima is clear the connection. Neshama. Do we see? Neshima, I'm sure you're all aware. The last pasuk of Tehillim. The last pasuk of Tehillim. Kol haneshama tahalel ya. And Rabbi Nachman, Al kol neshima uneshima tahalel ya. Familiar? Yes? Okay, we could even sing it. I should write that down. Neshima is the breath. I'm sorry, I'm not so good at remembering to translate things, so please help me. In Tehillim, the last pasuk. Okay? Do you want to sing the song? Do you know?
I'm just trying to remember the song. There is a song.
Nachon? Do you know? There's a nigun to it.
Yeah. I just don't remember it right now.
Someone have a nigun for it?
Kol neshama.
Kol neshama talil. Someone have a nigun? So for next time, collect some nigun for this pasuk. We're going to have a nigun next week for the pasuk, okay? Kol neshama talilka, hallelujah. And then the teaching is al kol neshima, for every breath. That's right. I language studied this. Neshima kol neshama talilka, hallelujah. Okay, so is this clear? every neshama praises Hashem, should praise Hashem. That's what Adam was created for, to praise Hashem. And then if you say haneshama, haneshima, so when do you praise Hashem, or for what do you praise Hashem? For every breath. Kol neshima, neshima, neshama. Kol haneshama, kol neshima. Kol haneshama, al kol, do you see it? Kol haneshama, kol neshima. Okay? Every breath.
You said it's in the last.
The final verse of the last chapter in Tehillim. If you carry a little Tehillim, good to have a little Tehillim with you wherever you go. Wherever you go, is to have Tehillim with you. And then the last verse of Tehillim, you can even find it probably in one of those things that have everything in it. It would be the last pasuk, of Tehillim. Good to remember, good to hold on to, good to carry with you all day long. Because if you have the last pasuk of Tehillim and you take a deep breath and say, Hashem, I would want to give you all of the pasukim of Tehillim, if I knew them, if I had time, if I could give you all of them. So if you take a deep breath with a sigh and say to Hashem, I'm bringing to you all of the pasukim of Tehillim with this final, because it's an all-inclusive, the last pasuk. Everything is included in the last verse. So by giving of emphasizing and integrating, internalizing, breathing this last pasuk, you're really giving all of the pasukim of Tehillim in that one phrase. And then, and we'll do this every week. We'll remember this. And then if you do it in the morning when you breathe, and then the night before you give your neshama back to Hashem with your last neshima. Can I use these words in Hebrew now? Neshama, neshima. Mm-hmm. Okay? So then you can do it consciously every moment. You could start by every hour. So there's a teaching in the Tanya that at every hour, the divine hashgacha, the divine providence, changes with the 12 hours of the day and the 12 hours of the night. There's a different permutation of the letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei and letters of Adni. I won't go into the details because I don't really know what it means. I just know that every hour, the hashgacha pratit, the divine providence, changes. So instead of like, when your clock goes at the hour, so it could remind you that now take a new breath of the new hashgacha that is coming down with this new hour. The Tanya talks about it that when someone is learning all day long for 10 hours straight, that at every given hour one should for a moment meditate on who the giver of the Torah and the source of the Torah, and take a deep breath at every change of every hour. So if we start by the first breath and the concluding breath, and then every hour, then it'll become part of you. That at any given moment you can take that kind of connecting breath with Hashem. And then when you meet someone and it goes like this, then all you need to do is take a breath and breathe. And breathe. And Hashem will give you a new breath. And then you'll be aware of the breath of the neshama standing opposite you. And then it will go to a connected place with Hashem, because you brought Hashem into that marriage. Because every moment of meeting another soul at whatever level of intensity is like a marriage. Okay? Everything that we're learning now is based on the introduction in the first chapter of the book of the Mystery of Marriage. And next week, if you have the book, if not, it can be purchased. And if that won't happen, then I'll bring out some sheets, perhaps, with the main thoughts that we want to share together. But it would be, if this is our course, it would be something very good to have. I don't know if our friends that are joining us, if you have the book, if it's available to you, I'll check that out. This is what we're going to be using. We'll be learning the first few chapters, and this has all been based on, and will be based on, the introduction and the first chapter in the book, Mystery of Marriage. Okay.
Is it pasuk in the book?
The breathing, there's a whole teaching that the Rav taught years ago on breathing. I can share with you, I have to find where it is in English, I can share with you there's a whole teaching of breathing. It was taught initially for breathing, all of the breathing. There's a whole book, a whole shiur. I saw the Rav teach it even personally, so it's like it can accompany you. But the idea is that every moment is a birth. Every moment is a connect. Every moment is a new birth And the breathing can accompany all of those moments, all of those birthing. I'm talking about birthing because I've been a lot in it, but it's not. The nekuda is that we're always breathing and giving birth. Okay? So that as we're always in a relationship of marriage, then when that relationship is a rectified one, then something is born of that moment. There's something that is born between two souls that relate in that kind of a way, and that is the child, that is the product of that moment. It's a spiritual part of the labor of finding that relationship. So?
Is there a meaning behind the fact that we are always breathing, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, and just
that's the chesed of Hashem. The chesed is with us all the time. Hashem is with us all the time. We know that. We're never alone. Hashem is always with us, and He's always allowing us this breath. But the more we can be aware of the breath, we can in that way be more aware of the presence of Hashem. Or one of the ways, not the only way. One of the ways that we can be more aware of the presence of Hashem, that is always there, even more than the breath. It's beyond the breath even. Hashem is with us even more than the breath is with us. And He's there all the time, and the breath is with us all the time. So what this conscious breathing does is making this presence being more aware of this presence, more connected with this presence, and being in a relationship with Hashem and His created world and His creatures in a conscious, aware way. And that's really what we want. That's it's the whole story. Being aware of Hashem and being aware of the other. And it's really the same. It's just you, and then you and the ego, and you had a whole year of learning about the ego. You had it. Okay, good. So you know what I'm talking about. So we're all we need to learn it for our whole lifetimes, but we've learned about it. We know what the concept is. So anything outside you is Hashem or the other. It's what you're relating outside of yourself to Hashem, and at the same time to the other. Okay. So anything on this, or we continue? So we're at the beginning of a new year, and we've all been created anew. We're only a few days, the beginning of our Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan is really the whole beginning of counting time. So we're only a few days old. So we're going to be building a new year. We're going to be building a new year together in building that relationship with Hashem and with others. Parshat Bereshit, again, we don't have text, so I don't want to relate to anything but this textual. But the story of Bereshit is something that we're all holding, the story of Bereshit, even without the actual words. And in that story, so the story of Bereshit, Perak Aleph, the first chapter, the second chapter, the third chapter, is really the essence of what we're going to be learning, because that first relationship of Adam looking for a soulmate and then finding Chava and their interaction is really the prototype of all relationship. So really from Parshat Bereshit that we've just come from, we're just beginning Parshat Bereshit, we will learn very basic things about relationships. Okay, so just for a minute. So what is it, from what you remember from the story of Bereshit, before we go on and write more concepts, just what is it that you remember about Adam and Chava, from the very beginning, before the Nachash comes in, let's say, that first description, okay? First description of Adam and Chava, how Adam is before. There are two descriptions you might remember. What you have in your mind. We're not opening any books right now. I want everyone for a moment to do some writing, and our friends over there also for a moment. A deep breath. When we say to think about something, meditate, I really mean breathe. Just to open up a deeper place of consciousness or meditation would mean that you take a deep breath. So let's just take a deep breath. You could close your eyes and think about what is it you're holding from the description that you've been carrying with you for many years. What do we remember about Adam and Chava, and Hashem creating Adam, Hashem creating Chava? And write that down. One line, one thought. If you breathe too deeply and too long, you just might fall asleep because it's rest hour now. It's Schlafstunde, so so come. Is that enough time? Okay. So does someone another breath? Does someone want to share? This is what you're writing. I'm going to ask you to write quite a bit in our learning for yourself, and if you want, your choice is to share or not, but I would ask everyone to write. When I ask to write, I'll share with you that even if you don't have an answer when you first think about it, just by taking the pen, the pencil, and starting to write, sometimes a deeper place from the breathing is opened up in some higher level of consciousness that can come down when there are not verbalized thoughts that you had before. So just by breathing and turning to Hashem in tefillah, because all of our learning is a tefillah to Hashem. So sometimes if you're in a place of breathing and tefillah to Hashem, and you just have the paper in front of you and want to write something down, something can come that you're not consciously aware of, above the thought process. We call it koach hamaskil. I don't know if you've done that. Some higher level of chokhmah that can come down by taking a breath of tefillah to Hashem and wanting to get close to Him by learning His Torah and pray to Him to help you deeply understand His teachings and what is your shlichut, what is the shlichut of your neshama inside your goof, your soul inside your body for this new year. It's a new year, it's a new day, but it's a new Tafshin Ayin Hey. What is the shlichut for this year? By the breath, by the tefillah that accompanies the breath, and sometimes you will come up with a thought that is beyond your own thought process. And that's why it's always good to take a deep breath of tefillah and try to answer the questions, even if you don't have an answer that you think you know. Your neshama knows the answer. Okay, so, and you don't need to share, but I would really ask that you put themselves out and write a thought. Does someone want to share?
That they were the two most beautiful people, and in each other's eyes too.
It's a beautiful thought. You always have beautiful thoughts. The two most beautiful people, and in each one's eyes also. Okay, so you're already getting to not the beginning, but as the story goes on. Okay, isn't it beautiful that you keep this beautiful optimistic? Isn't that, you see, if I asked for one thought, I didn't ask for the whole story. So in one sentence, what she's taking with her, she doesn't go into, there are a lot of things we're going to go into, and they might not all be so positive. But if I ask for one thought, then that's the thought. So thank you for beautiful thought.
What is the source that they were the most beautiful people?
They were the most beautiful
so there's a source.
Hashem created them in His image. No?
Okay, so there are midrashim that she's right. No, so we're not. Okay, cool. So there's a midrash. There are several midrashim that talk about their beauty. So that's where you're coming from, without quoting the source. And if you needed the exact sources, I could, next time bring them for you. That everyone in the world was like a kof bifnei Adam, a kof bifnei Chava, and then when it goes to describe Sarah and Rachel and Yaakov, all of the forefathers, that is where it does say Yefei Torah, Yefei Ma, using those words of beauty. The Midrash says, and it was similar to the beauty of Yaakov was similar to the beauty of Adam Rishon. You just thought it was logical since they were the Yitzir Kapav Shel Hashem. Hashem created them in His image, but the Midrashim describe in detail and compare them the beauty of other, let's say, of the fathers and the forefathers and the foremothers to the beauty of Adam and Chava. So there are sources on that. It doesn't say it in those words in the psukim, so your question is well taken. Is it muvan me'elav? Is it probably, it's just very clear, it's just very clear as it was clear here. And then the midrashim expound upon it, since it's not said explicitly in the psukim. So thank you for the answer, and thank you for the question. Everyone's enjoying. Okay. Besedus, thank you. Anything else that we wanted to share before we go into we're really going to learn we're going to be learning from what the book talks about. Yes.
This one is the one,
Lizoti Koreisha.
Yeah.
This is the pasuk. This is the one. Okay. This is the one. Okay. Okay. So that's a pasuk that we want to look into. And we will do it when we have the pasuk in front of us. What you're holding on to is this is the one. And this we would call, is that what you were referring to also? Lizoti kara isha? Ki mi ish lukacha zot? Okay. So I would like to share. we want to work on this. Isha. Lizot, referring to the woman. Lizot yi karei isha ki me ish lukacha zot. 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 There's another pasuk with zot that we're also we should bring down here. Zot hapam. But we need to see it inside. I will just write it. Zot hapam. I'll translate. Someone will translate. Will you translate as I'm writing? Zot hapam. This time. Hapam. Etzem. Me'at samai.
A bone from part of my bone.
Ubasar mi besari.
And flesh from my flesh.
Lezot yikarei isha. Ki me'ish lukacha zot. Note that the isha is written first. I only saw this year. She's called isha because of ish, but really the first time that word is written in the Torah, it says isha. And then we're getting to the place we want to get to, that it's really not, the idea is to see that they're one from each other. Isha ki mi'ish lukacha zot, but she is called Isha before he is called Ish. So there's no first or afterwards. The idea is to become one. How do we do that? That's our learning. That's our challenge. That's our tefillah. But this is a very beautiful pasuk. Ki mi'ish lukacha zot. But we're already not starting from the beginning. We're starting from the middle. Okay, we're starting from the middle of it. What is before that? Before that is that he does not find. Uladam lo matza ezer kenegdo. I'm going to erase this pasuk.
And before that, it's not good for man to be alone.
All right. So this is all what we're going to be learning inside. Let's stay here. So this already brought us to the description of creation itself and the two different descriptions of creation. Okay? I want to do something with you. And then
Not in
something.
Hebrew, though.
Not in Hebrew, no, in body language. Okay. In body language. How were Adam, and since you brought this pasuk, Bashkacha Pratit, so how were they created? How were they created? There are two descriptions. How were they created? Okay, so we're talking about back to back. We're talking about back to back. So we're standing back to back. We're standing back to back. Okay. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to partner up. Is that okay? Since it's at this time of day, if you don't move, you're going to be. So let's do it. And at home too. In Hebrew, there's a concept, and you might have heard during Tishrei, Nisira, the separating, the concept in Kabbalah and Chassidut, that initially on Rosh Hashanah, we are back to back. We're back to back with Hashem, and it's a slow process of turning around to be panim el panim. Is this familiar? Are you familiar with this description from the Panimiyut? On Rosh Hashanah, Hashem, initially Adam and Chava are created back to back. So in a moment we're going to compare back to back and face to face. So back to back they're one. But what's missing? They feel each other. They're completely one. But what's missing? What's missing? What's missing? There's no. Okay, so there are many. So everyone, right? What's missing in the back to back? Everyone stand up and stand back to back. Okay, and then we'll wake up. Is it? Oh, we have two. Is it hard to stand up? Feel what it means to be back to back. Feel back to back. Okay. So you can really feel. Okay, so just write down. Okay, so write down, what is it you feel, but do it. Stand for a moment. Feel. Allow yourself to feel, like not just to. Okay, write down. What did you feel like? Right. What do you feel like when you're back to back? Right, write down. What did you feel back to back? Write it down. Everyone their own impression. What did you feel like back to back? Write it down. You're still figuring it out? You're supporting. Okay, you're supporting each other. Okay. Gibui, gab. Okay. Okay, share. Can we share? Everyone has something. Everyone wrote something down.
Held togetherness.
Okay, everyone wrote down. Someone wants to share.
Kitov unable to relate.
Already? Was there anything good about being back to back first? Wait, let's start this way. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Is there anything? What was the positive? We should do this better. What's positive and what's negative?
You know there's
What's negative? I guess we could use that word. Don't like to use it. What is good and what could be better? This good and better. I want to share this with you. It's like my favorite little thing. You say in English for better or for worse. In Hebrew, you don't say it. Original Hebrew. Now they're using too much of American culture. In Hebrew, it's letov or lemutab. You don't say mutab. It's good or it's getting better.
Okay.
That's the phrase. Like that blew me away the first time I began to learn Hebrew many, many ages ago. Letov or lemutab. And now you can hear it. Now you might pick up because they're translating back from the English and they're saying you can hear letov or lemutab, but that's not the Hebrew. That's not the original Hebrew. In Ivrit, it goes letov. Anyone who knows it, letov or lemutab, and that's like an expression of the deepest level of Jewish consciousness. Either it's good, or it will be getting better if I make it so. Or I hope it should be so. And this idea of for better or for worse is foreign to our Jewish thinking. Okay, for good or for better. So what is good and what could be better?
What's good is that you're in contact.
In contact. Okay, everyone agree to that? In contact. Okay. And depending on how close you got and how much you allowed yourself to be in contact, there are different levels of being in contact. Okay? And what could be better? What would you like to be what would be different? What
interaction. You're missing
interaction. You're missing relationship. Okay, what else? Okay, anyone else want to share what's good and what needs to be better?
Oh, also, it was good that I could feel the person.
You could feel the person. You could feel like even a oneness. Okay. All right. Supported. Okay. Okay.
Even though you're one, you're not feeling a
You don't know the panim. You don't know the face. You don't know the face. You don't know. What don't you know by not seeing the face?
No feedback.
Feedback. The essence. The neshama. The uniqueness of the other.
Not the uniqueness of her back. Yeah, why not?
Okay, the uniqueness of the back, but there's a tzelem elokim, there's the uniqueness of the neshama that you could only see in the face. That's one thing. Also, back to back, well, we didn't try it. See, communicate back to back. Let's try that. I never thought of that. You have cough to get up again? It'll wake you up for the rest of the year. You want to do it sitting down? You could.
You're turning away from them.
But they were created that way.
There's also back to back. There is a good connotation to it too. Yeah, but
they're back to back. They're close. They're close to each other. Try, if you need to sit, then you could sit if it's easier for you to sit. It's good to move around. Let's see, how do you talk when you're back to back? How can you talk? Can you talk? Let's see, how are you doing today? I talk to my husband back to back lots of times. It's like calling to someone from the other room and saying, how was your day? How are you feeling? Do you need? Okay. All right, so it's very, very okay, so All right. Everybody woke up? Wait, no, but there's more to it. Come. This is good, but we need to get back to the learning.
From that position, you cannot be Rachel of Rabbi Akiva.
Right, okay. All right. So we're talking about the Nisira on Rosh Hashanah. The relationship to the world is still back to back. During the 10 days, Esther made tshuva, there's a slow cutting, turning to each other. It takes on more between Yom Kippur. Even on Yom Kippur, it's still not yet a full panim el panim. It's the beginning, though, of the turn. Yom Kippur signifies the beginning of that direction. Right? It's turning away from the back to back, but it's still not a full panim el panim. Between Yom Kippur and Sukkot is the beginning of fulfilling the panim el panim. Sukkot is panim el panim. Sukkot is panim el panim. Okay. But what is when you're panim el panim? When we're panim el panim, we don't touch them yet. We're not touching. Yes. We're not. We're only talking about panim el panim without the touching it. So you don't feel the connection. When Chava was separated from Adam, and first of all, they were just face to face. So he knew her as a neshama, as a unique individual. The inyan is now, but before talking about the inyan is to become one still. That's the next step. Then to become one from this place of being separate. Two separate individuals, that's the Nesirah. And now to unite after becoming two separate individuals. That's the Chokhmah. One more thing I want to show. When we were back to back, I saw the world the way I saw it. Try it again, try it. This was also something just came upon me after many years. I see this part of the world. I can see the world as I see it. What do I not see?
Your world.
I don't see the other world. When we turn around, I see your world, and you can see my world. Look at that. Try it.
And we can see all the world.
And
it's
then
a
you can
complete
see
world.
all around. And then you can see all around. When you're back to back, you see only that part that you're facing.
Wow.
Did you see it? You need to get up and do it again? Okay. Okay.
Nice
So
point.
that's the new place. Okay. That's the new
When you're
place.
together, if one falls, the other one falls as well.
When you're gabel gab, and when you're
You
one
can't
can
really
pick
support
the other.
properly, you know.
Okay. What can but think again. When we were back to back, we were one. Then the Shira means that they were not just standing back to back as we were, but they were actually one body. One body, one side was feminine, one side is masculine. You're familiar with that description.
When a fetus is being, and when an embryo is becoming, they actually are created that way. You actually see two pieces like this that are connected in the middle as they form. It's very interesting. If you look, even one of the first visible features of the developing fetus.
Oh.
It's very, very interesting. It's the same way.
What?
When you look at the stages of development,
Initial stages.
the initial stages, it actually is almost like two lines connected. It's almost like two bodies back to back.
And then it's separating?
And then it creates, and then that actually the middle part is actually the spinal cord, and it actually looks like two people back to back connected. I just thought that's always in my mind when I.
So this oneness, see, there's something positive about this oneness. Even if it's back to back, there's this oneness. Now they can see each other panim el panim and relate and see the neshama, okay, and all of the things that someone add, something that you wrote. But what will make them? But now they need to become one, even though they're two separate. What seems to be two separate entities. So what can make them now one when they're separated? It was easier to feel one when we were touching, when you were one body. Now the separation brings for the relationship that we're so looking for, and the neshama. But there's a separation. So what can make that separation one again? How can you make from two now? They were one, now they're two. The two of them facing each other. They can see the world of the other now. You saw that. Now their world is, they can take into account the other's unique soul, they can take into account the other's world, but they're separate. And then they're meant to be Vayulu Basar Echad. Yom Echad. Makom Echad. Basar Echad. They're meant to become one. What will be able to bring them back to this place of one? Think for a moment. Someone want to write an answer? What can make them one? So physically we know, Vayulu basar echad. Okay?
Some thought about it? Do you want some thoughts
Yes,
about
I just
it?
want to give everyone a moment to breathe and think and write for a moment and then share. What can make them one? So we know the physical connection of intimacy, of ishut, ish v'isha, and he was ishut, ish, isha, ishut, of making them one physically. But how does this physical oneness, but they separate again. They don't remain one after the union, after the ishut. They become one at ishut, but then they become two again. What will make these two that are meant to become one, and at divine moments do become one, basar echad, one flesh, in the union between them? But what can keep these two separate entities one all the time? What will unite them? So everyone write something and then we'll share. What will unite them always? They're two, but they can become one. Ken? Ken?
Perhaps if they jointly together serve Hashem's
Okay, so
purpose.
you brought it. Okay, so actually everyone came to this place. What entered is Hashem. Okay, what can unite them? In Hebrew we say shutaf shlishi, the divine partner, the one that unites ish v'isha. If they can keep in their consciousness the one, okay, ha'echad, okay, Hashem echad, and that way vayulu basar echad. Okay, what can make basar echad more than just a physical connection in that moment? If you can bring in and be aware of Hashem echad, then there can always be one, and then the echad can be in the common serving of Hashem, in the shlichut together, and even more than that. So that's the actual level of the awareness of being shlichim, of the common shlichut. I'm going into Hebrew. Of the common shlichut. Shlichut. Is there an English word for it? Mission. But is that a word that we can use in Hebrew also? Shlichut. Shlichus. We can say shlichus, and it becomes English. Shlichut. But if you say shlichus, you're speaking English, you see, and everyone will understand. You will say shlichus and okay. So that's the continuation. That's for most, and that's a practical part of it. But what allows two to be one in the shlichut all the time? So it's what we call the soul root, the common soul root. This is what we're going to be learning about in that first chapter. The common soul root of, if the Adam is created one, Krashmam Adam, and they were one physically, but Hashem separates them to be two in order to make them one again in a deeper way, then what can unite them is what they do not see physically, but what we believe in and what we strive for and become aware of. The shorish neshama, the soul source of every neshama, that is the soul source of both. If we're talking about ish v'isha, there's a common soul root to ish v'isha, as there is a soul. All of the neshamot of Am Yisrael are all their sources in Hashem. So in
one soul also?
What?
Aren't they one soul?
The ish v'isha are one soul, and in a broader sense, all of Am Yisrael. Knesset, we call it Knesset Yisrael, are all coming from one source in Hashem. So this awareness of the common soul root of all of Am Yisrael, and most especially, then therefore of every other Yehudi, and most especially in a marriage relationship of Ish v'Isha, then this is what can overcome. So when the moments are simple, challenging, then you can be aware of the common goal, or the common mission, the common shlichut. But what if it gets bumpy? What if it gets bumpy? If it ever gets bumpy by anybody? If things become more challenging, then what can keep these two and make them one? So sometimes the mission doesn't seem to be going. and the goal is not clear. Can it happen? Can it happen?
Yeah.
So there's a place that is above all of that. There's a place of, just as in any kind of bumpy situation, even if though you're falling and you're not knowing what to do, there's always an inner place that never falls. The inner part of the soul, the inner essence that is always connected to Hashem. And nothing can touch or shake or undo that inner place. So too in a relationship, specifically in marriage. No matter what's going on, this awareness of the common soul in Hashem can hold you together even when the other things that are usually together are sometimes not. Okay, so then this is the Shoresh Neshama. The Shoresh Neshama that needs to be more worked on or strive for, Zafka, when we're separate. Because when it's back to back and it's one, then you feel the oneness. It's not such a challenge. You have to go together. But when you're two separate, and then you act as one, and then you remember that you're one, then that's the essence of the soul that can keep that oneness together. Okay. And it can happen. It can work. We'll do this another time. In other words, when can you use in any? Because this is like for next week. What we'll be working on next week will be after learning. In each class, we're going to do some learning in the book or in the source, and then some practical workout like now. And of course, what we're going to be working on most especially is any challenging relationship that you're in the present. By next week, it could all be solved. But we will be working on relationships and working on challenges in relationships based on the source in the book and the things that we've begun to talk about now. This idea of a common soul root can save many, many bumpy moments, right? Because you can say, I don't see why we're married, because we could give it a why did I get married? These thoughts can come to you. You can come if you're afterwards, if someone comes to you to ask for advice, consultation. I don't know why we're married now. We're not doing the things we used to do. We don't see eye to eye on our goals, on our missions. I don't know why we're together now. That's a question that can be asked at different levels, at differing levels. It passes through the mind in any marriage. In any marriage, the best of them, there'll be a moment where you say, how did I get into this? What is this all about? So then if it's simple, then you can work it out with the common mission and the common goal. But if it's very challenging, and you need to get to, and you'd be surprised, little moments can be very challenging sometimes. Who can weigh what is a great moment or a small moment or a great challenge or a small challenge? When you have something in front of you, it could be the smallest thing. Ever happened to you? The smallest thing could be, World War? Okay. So this idea of the oneness of the soul, that Hashem is there. You can actually call upon Hashem. Everything I'm sharing with you are practical things I've either used for myself or used in consultation with others. You can call Hashem, you can say it like this. Look, Hashem, you got this together. This is a kuppah, this is a brit nisuin, it's a kiddushin that Hashem, it's all Hashem. You work this out. So please enter. Just come into this moment, because I can't do this on my own, can't do it by myself. So please enter. Since you are a partner of this, it's a threesome here, it's me and the other, but it's from Hashem, and actually verbally, in any way that you want, turn to Hashem. Does that mean that we're at the end of our? Is that what that means? Okay, that we need to conclude. Okay, so let me bring this to like a moment of a closure.
You have more time.
You need to leave. We have a few minutes yet.
No, you're until 3:30.
I'm until 3:30.
You have half an hour, I think, or 3:15.
Please, I want people to be comfortable with this, with the time. How much time do we have together?
15 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Almost 10. Okay. So, maybe this is the time to write. We'll do this more in depth, but just since we got here, to think about for next week, and bring with you some challenging relationship that you're in. Some challenging, and we're all in relationships. It can be a little challenging. It doesn't have to be heavy challenging. some challenge that you're in a relationship. Could be either a challenging relationship or some challenge you're in a relationship. Either way you want to go with it. Any relationship. If it's a marriage relationship, then you can use that. It doesn't need to be. We worked on years before. Brother-sister relationships, any relationship, neighbors. It could be anything. Something that you really care about, though. You know, something that you care about. And how? And then the question is, how would this concept of the soul source, the common soul source, if it's man and wife, then that's the belief that that Hashem created us from the same soul root, and then it comes down into two separate bodies that are meant to become one again. If it's brother and sister, then it's the Av Echad L'Kulanu. It's the same. We're coming from the same mother or father, the same womb. Okay, so this idea, but that the essence is in Hashem, the oneness is in Hashem, the common soul root of man and woman of Am Yisrael. How can just this thought itself help you in that relationship?
Isn't that what causes the problem? Meaning, if I don't get along with my brother...
I don't want to talk about it. I just opened it up for next time.
Can you just... I didn't understand the question.
I didn't get it.
Okay, so let me try to be clear.
The question is that you said...
The question is, think about it. I don't want to bring them up now. I want you to think about it and work on it on your own, and we'll bring it next week. I won't even say it. Can the thought of, or the understanding of a common soul root in Hashem, of man and wife, or of brother and sister, of anyone in Am Yisrael. Okay, I've made three different relationship levels. How can this understanding, can this understanding help you practically in an ongoing relationship or the challenge that you're meeting in a relationship? That would be our next. That would be for next week. But think about it and bring something that you want to work on next week. Say that.
But how can that knowledge help you?
Yeah. How can that knowledge help you with the challenge? You're allowed to use it even before next week if it can help you. You don't have to wait till next week to use it. You can use it at this moment, from this moment on. Okay.
Isn't it true that the sense of sharing a common soul root, because there are levels to it, is going to be easier depending on how close the root. In other words, the soul root I share with anyone from Am Yisrael is going to feel more distant than the one I'm going to share with my soulmate.
Yes, of course.
So to sense the common soul root is going to be more difficult.
Of course, different. But the intensity of the challenges is also different when you meet someone in the class, let's say, or you cross someone in the street. So your challenge is going to be minimal.
So you don't need to draw on a strong...
Usually you don't,
right?
In a marriage relationship, it's a constant need to draw on that awareness of the soul root. Not constant, but it needs to be there all the time.
Assuming everyone's married to their soul root.
Okay, so all right. Okay. We can work. It's a whole other inyan. I know where you're. Okay, that's another inyan, but it can be talked about also. There's nothing that cannot be included in this understanding, and in any level of relationship. Okay, in any level of relationship. We're hinting to something else, but let's leave that. Okay, let's go back. If this is clear, it's clear for next week. It's clear to think about. I see it not so.
No, I was just trying
think about it. Oh, about how to work it out. That's the story. It would be with also tefillah. We're going to be using a tefillah at every stop or every stage of what we're going to be doing. A tefillah to Hashem to make us aware of, or to make His presence felt. So while you're thinking about this, how would you relating to Hashem and turning to Him directly, and in what words would you use? You can already make your own tefillah in this way. How would you turn to Hashem, asking Him to make present His soul, His presence, His oneness in this relationship, to help you refine that relationship, overcome the obstacles. The turning to Hashem is a major part of it. The breathing will open up that place. Will open up that place of turning to Hashem always, often, as much as you breathe, as much as you want. So that's the second place. So the tefillah, so just the hitbonenut, the thought, and then the tefillah that goes along with that thought. Hashem, help me find you and make your presence known. Okay. So we won't open a whole new thought, but I will get to the place that I hope by next week we will inside the book find. We talked about this. We didn't talk about what came before. Adam, what was the story? That Adam was alone. In the first description of the first chapter, Adam is created in a one consciousness, as Yechidi. Yechidi, singular, Yechidi. Yechidi. He's created as one. That's the first description. And then the description is the detailed description of how the woman is created. So we aren't doing a commentary. We're not going into an in-depth study of the whole parsha of Bereshit, rather for this idea of relationships. But what is the major thing? When is he aware? When does Hashem create the Isha for him? He first needs to search for her. Ul Adam lo matzah. He needs to feel that something's missing. And that's the story that precedes Lizot, that we've quoted here. Before that, he has to know that something is missing. There has to be something that's lacking in his existence for him to be aware of and appreciative and ready for the consciousness of the creation of Chava. Is that moment, are we clear on that in the story? So that's preceding anything we talked about. And this idea of matzah is what we're going to, again, learn next week. The pasuk in Bereshit is Lo tov ha'adam but we're going to be learning this in depth next week. Eseh lo ezer kenegdo lo tov. It is not good for a man to feel alone. Heyot ha'adam levado selo ezer kenegdo. And but before that, ולאדם לא מצא. ולאדם ולאדם לא מצא עזר כנגדו. ולאדם. So there are a lot of things we can learn from this. It'll first explain something not clear in the. Let me translate. We'll translate it. We should translate. It is not good for a man to be alone or to feel alone, to think he's alone. Eselo ezer kenegdo. I will make for him, and we'll explain in detail what is ezer kenegdo. Helpmate, soulmate, but there's more. There's lo. There are three words: lo, ezer, and kenegdo. There are three levels of a relationship. We're going to be learning all of that. 3 levels. And then, Uladam lo matzah ezer kenegdo. Lo matzah ezer kenegdo. So first, we understand why Adam. This can solve a lot of marriage issues. Males, have a consciousness of being alone in the world. First of all. They're in some original level of consciousness. A man thinks of himself as being a yechidi, alone in the world. That can explain so many things. Woman is created already in relationship. She's already, when she is aware of consciousness, when she's aware of her being, she is in relation to Adam. It's so basic. Is that clear? It's like before any Venus or Mars ever was written about. It's just in the psukim themselves that the consciousness of Adam is that he's alone in the world, and it's not so he can manage. Seems to be able to manage. Where woman is born in relationship, from the very essence, from the very first breath of consciousness, she's in relationship. So I'm going to leave that for you to fill in. But that will explain most of the major differences between man and woman, this consciousness of being in relationship. It's much easier for us to be in relationship. We're born in relationship. Our natural state is in relationship. What kind of relationship? How is that relationship going to be? That we need to work on. But that we are not alone, that we are in relationship to Hashem and to the other is very clear. Adam is aware of Hashem. He's not aware of anything other outside himself. Being aware of the other makes you more and more aware of Hashem. Being aware of Hashem makes you more and more aware of the other, either direction. Okay. So that's Lo Matzah Ezer Kenegdo. So that's the first thought, okay? And fill in for yourself anything else that you think goes along with how this explains the differences between man and woman. Does it?
Is that two little girls?
What?
Is that two little girls or
Yes.
little girls with puberty?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wait,
I
from
think
what
in, like,
age are you
very
asking?
Basic. You see it in very young kids.
See,
Like
girls
I,
are
like
more.
My, like
Girls are very are more friendly
Yeah.
than boys. Little girls are more friendly than boys.
But also,
usually.
my son has a best friend, and they really like each other. But you always see the little girl saying, "And we're gonna get married," and my son never relates it to that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you always see it. Yeah, like
And
you're just
also
like, oh.
taking dolls and nurturing, the nurturing.
Okay, the nurturing. Okay, many things, but I'm talking about something even more. Does it ever happen that a man that can just sort of space out and be in his own world and not connect? Ever happen? Do you ever notice and ever happening? Ever happening? If you know that's a natural male state, you're equipped to deal with it, and it doesn't blow you. Right? And not all, and marriage, but in any kind of male relationship, a boss can be out of stuff, not relating, not aware, not relating to the other as easily. It's an avoda that they need to do. But this idea of being in their own world, if you know that, he's not being stubborn, ignoring you, all of the things that go along with issues. That's how male consciousness is. He doesn't hear you because he's really involved in deep meditation. He really is involved in many things in his world. He's not listening to you because he doesn't like to listen to you. He really is in hearing his own world. He's in his own inner world or his own spiritual, meditative world. Knowing that can solve a lot of issues already. Okay? So we're going to leave that for something that I want you to write about, personal experiences, personal details, and we will conclude now. What we will begin, and from the book, from the first introduction, the first chapter, is this Lo Matzah. When it says Lo Matzah, it means that you need to search for it, you need to look for it, you need to work for it and strive for it. So we're going to work on this phrase, Lo Matzah.
But it's Adam.
Ul Adam Lo Matzah Ezer Kenegdo.
Lo matzah.
Hashem didn't find, and then he says, I will create. So when it says Lo Matzah, means that he needs to look for. He needs to find. The man needs to look for, and this concept of looking for, searching for, is something that we will talk about next time.
Well,
What is the searching for?
He looks and he didn't find, so he needed the help to find.
Thank you.
Tודה rבה. So for next time, B'ezrat Hashem, you've got something to think about to bring it together next week. Shalom, bracha v'atzlacha, Shavua tov.